Commission.
Chair Holvey and members of the committee, for the record, my name is Kathy Hadley, and I'm here to speak against House Bill 2619A. I farm both in the Rickreall area, just west of here, and in Silverton with my dad and my husband. We don't hire anybody, so we are a true family farm, having about 1,200 acres between both of them, raising a variety of crops and grass-fed beef. And I also am a mom. I have 3 young boys, 8, 6, and a 6-week-old that's home with grandma, so I can be here to explain how important this is for our farm. I want to talk specifically about our Silverton farm, which is up by Silver Creek Falls State Park, so very hilly. And we have 3 main crops we grow up there. We have fine fescue, grass seed, we raise oats, and then we have some other broadleaf crops like peas, brassicas, meadow foam for a good rotation. So we definitely try to be diverse. We try to be very sustainable. My husband's the 5th generation over there. But erosion is a huge concern with that terrain. And so we try to utilize a lot of no-till. And with the rotation of those crops, we've been able to cut down on tilling soil to only 2 out of every 7 years. And so that's sequestering carbon the whole time that it's in those grass seed fields too, which obviously is a benefit. But it's important for that to work, for that fine fescue to stay in 4 to 5 years. So the reason I'm here specifically, intersod webworm, which is an insect that we battle over there, it can be very destructive to those grass stands. However, if we are able to spray Chlorpyrifos in the fall, which, as a side note, there's no pollinator risk at that time, nor is there any risk to any workers, because like with many other field crops, there's no one else out there and no need for anyone to be out there in any kind of time frame close to the spraying at all. So it allows that stand to have that longevity that we need to be good environmental stewards. It really allows us to be the best environmental stewards we can be because we're reducing erosion, sequestering carbon, those things that I mentioned. We really need this as a tool to do a good job. As a side note, we do raise and sell beef over there on our farm where we are also utilizing Chlorpyrifos, and we have Christmas tree neighbors that both of us have been significantly battling large herds of elk, and we have trail cameras with lots of wildlife showing up all the time. So just our experience that I wanted to mention. From a broader perspective, I do want to also say that I think there's other bodies that are more specialized to address this topic. EPA registrations with all of their scientific data that they look through. ODA has the special local needs, which this falls under. So I feel like, as has been stated already, there's other bodies that have more time and more details to more properly evaluate this. The thing that scares me is having a patchwork of regulations between different states or between a product, going product by product, and having to worry about what's banned and what's not in a state. I am a licensed private applicator. That involves a lot of training, testing, and recertification education. So not just, treating this willy-nilly at all. We're using them very safely and carefully, using all the recommended personal protective equipment, following the label, which is the law, which means we can't legally have drift. I have been involved with cases where ODA has responded very swiftly when there's been issues come up. And there's very specific reentry rules for different crops. Most of the ones grown in Oregon are 24 hours. A few, including citrus orchard floors, are 5 days, but we were just looking at the label. So it is by no means 5 days on everything. And I guess I want to draw a stark comparison to that of what, like, the average homeowner that can go to Home Depot and buy a lot of chemicals, the care that they put into something. They don't know how to read labels. They aren't looking at stuff, and we're putting a lot of time and effort into that. And I just want to make sure you guys understand how important it is for us to do personally, that we're doing a good job when we are applying these products to protect our crops. And then just also, there's rigorous, expensive, and ongoing testing and evaluation for all of these crops' safety for us to even be able to use them. Back to our farm, we don't have an alternative for this. There's literally no other product labeled to spray sod webworms in fescue. And there's other minor and specialty crops in Oregon that are in the same boat, just because we are so specialized here. To wrap up my testimony, I just want to ask you to use the same logic that's being applied in another heavily discussed issue in the building here right now. I strongly support vaccines. My 6-week-old kid has them all. And the reason I do is because of science. Same science that says that chlorpyrifos is safe, with over 4,000 studies saying it's safe with children. And that's obviously important to me with 3 young children. So I would just ask you to not pick and choose what science, when we're talking about science, you don't pick and choose which one you like better, and where to apply it and where not to. Science shows it breaks down readily with soil microbes and sunlight. So once it's achieved the benefit for us, it doesn't linger around or pose ongoing risks. So for these reasons, I ask you that you are opposed to House Bill 2619A. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Springer.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. And Kathy, thank you for your testimony. So I read through OLIS, a lot of the testimony that's been submitted there, and I hear many, many people say just use a different product. And I heard you say that there isn't a product. My question to you is, if we're creative, can we think of another product to use? And if there isn't a product today that would do what we need it to do, and development began on that product, how long before it's to market?
Chair Holvey and Representative Springer, first of all, there may be a few people in another panel that might be able to give you more precise answer to that, but it varies based on the crops you're using it on and the insect or pest that you're targeting as far as what is labeled and what's available to use. So for us specifically, there's not an alternative. Some people do have alternatives, but the effectiveness is much less, or like I know one farmer that I know testified on this, it's 5 times more for the next best alternative as far as cost. So that may mean she would switch to a different crop. So for us specifically, if we did not have this product, it would mean that our stands would last maybe 1 to 2 years if they got infested with sod webworms. So we would be working the soil a lot more. We wouldn't have that 2 out of 7 years. We'd be talking more like half of the time for the crops we were raising, we'd be working the soil, which is definitely not the direction we like to try to go. So as far as any alternative products, I mean, again, with minor crops, it's hard to get some of these larger companies interested in investing in them because they just aren't going to generate the sales if they're only for a minor crop, a label for a minor crop. But it's oftentimes years of research that goes into them. So you're talking years and lots of money. And there are options for like the special local needs labels, which can sometimes expedite that, but it's not a quick process. So I guess at least if it's through 2021, that helps some, but it's still not good.
Thank you.